2024. We're going to call to order
Microphone.
All right, there we go. It is 6 o'clock. It is September the 11th, 2024. We're going to call to order the Joint Economic Development Organization meeting. Before we begin, though, I will note that we are going to be adding item 3G. It was a late add for the approval of the 2023 JEDO audit, and it will be added as item 3G. Also, just as a point of order, after 3C, we will be taking a short recess to take some photos. Just so that you put that on your agenda, knowing that we're going to be taking a brief recess after 3C. With those two procedural announcements, if we could go ahead and have our roll call.
Commissioners Cook,
Present.
Mays,
Here.
Rippon,
Present.
Mayor Padilla,
Mayor Padilla indicated that he was not able to be present this evening.
Council members Banks,
Here.
Duncan,
Here.
Hiller,
Here.
Ortiz, Kell, Miller, Dobler, Hoffer.
We did note that the Councilwoman Deputy Mayor Valdivia Alcala was not able to be present this evening, and she has proxied her vote to Councilwoman Hiller for this evening. With that, I believe we're ready for item 3A.
Action item 3A, approval of the May 8th, 2024 JEDO board meeting minutes.
Your board minutes are attached to your packet. If you've had an opportunity to read, are there any questions, comments, changes to the board minutes?
I move approval of the minutes.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays for approval of the minutes. Second by Councilmember David Banks. If we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes. If we can have our next item.
Action item 3B, approval of incentive agreement for Project Queen Bee.
Evening. As these are some of the first projects being presented for final approval and announcement for some of the new JEDO members this year, I wanted to offer a little bit more details about the process. Each project abides by the incentive guidelines set in place by Topeka and our board of directors. They align with the metrics of our community strategy to ensure that we grow our economy through capital investment and quality jobs meeting the minimum salary threshold. They also follow the norm for local incentives offered to primary employers for economic development projects nationally. These projects tonight follow the guidelines, and all the incentives are performance-based in structure and only paid out as earned after an annual verification process and offered over a period of 5 years. Additionally, all the details of the proposed incentives for these projects have been outlined and included in your packet tonight. And as you mentioned, we do have two announcements, so we will normally pause. I would ask that we wait until both of them are announced to pause. So the first project was Project Queen Bee. At the May JEDO board meeting, the incentive funding for Project Queen Bee, a local manufacturing company, was approved. The capital investment is $47.2 million, hiring 182 new positions over the next 5 years, the salary ranging from $60,000 to $120,000, with the economic impact for this project over the next 10 years is $1.3 billion, with an ROI of 1,782%. With the final approval of the contract in the packet, we're excited to announce that Project Queen Bee is PTMW. And with us tonight to say a few words about the project and what it means for them moving forward is David Dobbs, the SVP of Manufacturing, and Morgan Paget, the SVP of Accounting and IT.
Thank you, Ashley. I am Morgan Paget, the Senior Vice President of Accounting and IT for PTMW, and this is David Dobbs, who's our Senior VP of Manufacturing. So on behalf of myself and David and our President, Ashley Bettis, we do want to thank JEDO for your continued investment in the community and Topeka as well, and then also for the incentive package that Ashley's mentioned that is proposed for final approval tonight. PTMW, we're an OEM melt fabricator that's been in business in Northeast Kansas for 40 years, with the last 25 of those being in Topeka. We're also recognized throughout North America as a women's business enterprise, as certified by the Kansas Department of Commerce, and also the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, which we're very proud of that. So we're excited to be able to expand and grow on the 40 years of success that PTMW's experienced so far. The incentive package that Ashley explained to you is going to help us support our 5-year plan to grow, and that includes some details behind it. We have plans to add $100,000 to our manufacturing facility, and we're going to make some improvements and enhancements to our current facility, which is about 825,000 square feet already. We're going to be adding equipment to both of those buildings, and then, as Ashley mentioned, adding about 182 jobs. And those are going to range anywhere from our baseline production employees to your more skilled labor, welders, electricians, those sorts of things, and also professionals in terms of engineers and designers, and then also some management level as we grow and need more of those. So we're excited about this, and we appreciate the support of JEDO and Topeka, Go Topeka, and we hope that that's going to be able to support us, increase our success, and also, as a byproduct of that, help the Topeka community.
Okay.
So, thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you very much, Morgan.
Uh-huh.
Just
So with that, I would just ask for a motion for final approval of the project tonight.
Okay. Before we get to that point, I think, Councilmember Hiller, you had a question?
I do. I was already on the council when we opened your first building, and it was so much fun to go through and see the equipment that you were making and see that you had bicycles riding around, taking things from station to station, and I still tell people about that. Could you tell us what product line you're doing, whether you're just growing with what you were already doing or adding some products?
Yeah. And David, if I misspeak, let me know, because he's in charge of manufacturing. But no, we're really just expanding. PTMW kind of started in the rail industry, making enclosures for the rail, and we've grown exponentially in other industries beyond that. Similar kind of buildings, different purposes, and that's really where we've seen some growth, especially when you're talking data centers, energy, and those sorts of things. So we're just expanding the same type of work. The buildings are just getting bigger and heavier, and we're needing more space and more equipment to make them and fabricate them. So,
Okay, thank you.
You're very
That's
welcome.
exciting.
Councilmember Banks, I think you had a question?
You were talking really, really fast.
sorry. That's my MO. No.
Some of those things you talked about, I missed.
Okay. You want me to? Yeah. You want me to go through it again?
No.
Okay.
I'm interested in how your plan to hire, let's say, lower to middle income employees. Like in my district, are you going to be able to reach out and touch some of those people that are not mainstream?
I mean, yes, absolutely. And David maybe can speak to this too, but our basic production workers require no experience and no background.
Okay.
Yeah, we do a lot of training. We have certified weld inspectors. They also, when we bring in and on board, we help them develop the skills needed for welding. We help them develop skills for the powder coating processes that we do, the fabrication up in the front in our we call it PFAB. But in that area of manufacturing, we teach them how to read the prints, do the measurements, those types of things to help build their skills to get our product out the door.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry.
I would note that also there is employee training incentives where there are special programs to add and training to add for the employees.
Yep. Yeah, it's the smallest piece of the package, but there is some of that in there, yes. We do a lot of that training in-house, which doesn't all qualify, but there is some of that.
Are there any other questions? All right. Well, I thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here
Yep.
and all that you're doing. Is
Okay.
there a motion for Queen Bee, Project Queen Bee?
I would move for approval of Project Queen Bee.
Motion made by Commissioner Rippon. Is there a second? Second made by Councilwoman Hiller. Is there any further discussion regarding Project Queen Bee? Seeing none, if we could take a roll call vote.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
Okay. Show that it passes. And congratulations to PTMW. Our next item.
Item 3C, approval of incentive agreement for Project Oriole.
Okay, another project whose incentive funding was approved at the JEDO meeting in May was for another local manufacturing company. The capital investment is $31 million. Over the next 5 years, they plan to hire 60 new positions. 15 of those positions do meet the qualifications of the minimum threshold to receive incentives for the annual salary. And the economic impact for this project over 10 years is $240 million, resulting in an ROI of 246%. So with the final approval of this contract in the packet, we're excited to announce that Project Oriole is Southwest Publishing, which will be rebranded as More Digital Print and Mail Center. So with us tonight to say a few words about the project and what it means for them moving forward is Vice President Angie McAtee and Operations Manager Zach Hilmer.
Hi there. I'm Angie McAtee. I'm the Vice President of Southwest Publishing and Mailing, but we're now more. This is Zach Hilmer. He's our Operations Manager. Our President, Shane Hilmer, couldn't be here. He's at a print show, and he really has been the one in charge of this. But we're very excited about this expansion and this approval, and we thank Go Topeka and JEDO very much. You know, 10 years ago, we moved into the building over at 37th and Adams, and we thought, man, we've made it now. We really thought, this is it. And 10 years later, we're out of room. We're still growing faster than we could imagine. So we're getting a bunch of new equipment from a sister company in Baltimore, and we're going to make all kinds of new direct mail products, including fancy card packages that have and stickers and glitter and embellishments. So it's going to increase our capacity like crazy, and we're just learning new things we couldn't even imagine. And we've got tons of employees who have been there with us for 30 years and more. Shane and Zach are lifelong Topekans. I'm very close to being lifelong, so we appreciate it. We love Topeka. We love our southeast new neighborhood. Well, it's not new, it's 10 years. But we love it, and we appreciate everything that's gone on here. Zach?
Yeah, that's about all I have. Just couldn't be more grateful to you guys for helping us with this stuff. A lot of our project is sort of like theirs. We expect you to not know the people in Topeka exactly what we do about our machinery. We're prepared to take you in, teach you everything you need to know. I think we'll also try to relocate some of those people from that Baltimore facility that we're closing down there, and so that's kind of cool to have new Topekans as well. So thanks again, appreciate it.
We appreciate all that you do with this project and adding 60 new employees to Shawnee County and to your Southwest Publishing. Are there any questions for Southwest Publishing? Councilmember Banks. Yes.
I am so proud to have you all in my district, or our district, which is District 4. So proud to have you all in our district, which is District 4. Back in the wintertime, I had an opportunity to just go through the building with Shane for a little bit. And that was kind of interesting because I've been in Topeka since 1980, and that was a different company back then, and things looked so much different. So we appreciate it.
They look different now just from last winter, so come on back.
All right. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Might note for both Project Oriole as well as for Project Queen Bee, the economic incentives for new hires are at $50,000 and above. So these are primary jobs for Shawnee County, and want to appreciate the addition of these primary jobs for Shawnee County at $50,000 per annum or more. So, Councilwoman Hillard?
Quick follow-up. I got a chance to go through the plant not too long ago. Maybe I met you.
You did?
I think I did.
You were with Renee, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And it's really cool. They even make their own envelopes. I mean, they start everything from paper and turn all this into magic as far as I'm concerned.
To mail, exactly.
So do you do tours regularly or on request?
If anybody, I'm there every day. If you guys want to come through, we'll host anybody at any time. We'll drop what we need to do to accommodate that. And I would encourage everybody, once we get going, we hope this includes about 100 to 120,000 square foot addition to our already 240,000 square foot operation. So we'd love to do tours once we get that opened and rocking and rolling.
That's great. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? With that, is there a motion to approve Project Oriole? Motion made by Councilmember Banks. Is there a second to approve?
Second.
Second has been made by Commissioner Mays. If we can have a roll call vote.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
Show that it passes. At this time, we are going to take a 10-minute recess. We are going to reconvene at 6:25.
Thank you very much.
We are back from recess to have a photo opportunity with PTMW and Southwest Publishing. We are ready for our next action item.
Item 3D, approval of incentive funding for Project Finish Line.
Okay, these next projects are seeking approval for incentive funding tonight. If approved, we will develop the contract agreement and will be presented at a later JEDO meeting, much like it is this evening. These projects follow the guidelines, and all incentives are performance-based in structure and only paid out as earned after the annual verification process and offered over a period of 5 years. First project is Project Finish Line. This is a local manufacturing company in Shawnee County looking at a capital investment of $57 million in real property as well as machinery and equipment. Over the next 5 years, they plan to hire 300 new positions. These positions do meet the minimum wage threshold of $31,000 and qualify to receive both the employment and the training incentives. The economic impact for this project over 10 years is $3.6 million, resulting in an ROI of 171%. The Go Topeka Board of Directors has approved this project, and tonight we seek JEDO approval for the incentive funding amount of $2,136,000.
Questions regarding Project Finish Line?
I have a question.
Commissioner Mays?
So, when I look at these numbers, if it's a $57 million capital investment, why is the economic impact only $3.6 million? Seems like it should be more than that, doesn't it?
Well, what we use is a formula that our economic advisor puts in the capital investment, the industry, the amount of jobs, and the quality of jobs that they are, and so it generates a percentage for us. But yeah.
I think it's a typo. We will correct that. I think it's just a typo on the slides.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like just the
Because
construction.
the direct benefits more than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a typo.
okay.
All right. Other questions? And again, I note that this is again a incentive for employment of 51,000 annual wage.
Correct.
So just noting that. All right. Any other questions or inquiry? Is there a motion to approve an incentive funding proposal for Project Finish Line?
I'll move that we approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Mays. If we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
Show that it approves. Our next item.
Okay.
Item 3E, approval of incentive funding for Project Brick.
Okay, this is a local aviation company in Shawnee County looking to expand their business, which will require additional employees. So over the next 5 years, they plan to hire 13 new positions, and we're proud to share that these positions will range in salaries from $60,000 to $110,000 annually. The economic impact for this project over the next 10 years is $18.9 million, resulting in an ROI of 301%. The Go Topeka Board of Directors has approved this project, and tonight we seek JEDO approval for the incentive funding amount of $112,000.
And again, this is for an existing business already in Topeka.
Correct.
Are there other questions regarding this proposal for incentive? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval of proposed incentives for Project Brick? Councilwoman Hiller? Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Motion seconded by Commissioner Mays.
Rippon.
Sorry, Commissioner Rippon, I apologize. I apologize to you, Commissioner Mays. So, a roll call vote.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
And show that Project Brick has passed. So
Great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next action item.
Item 3F, approval of the 2023 Go Topeka audit.
Hello, I'm Josh Patterson. I'm the CFO for the Greater Topeka Partnership and Go Topeka. I'd like to introduce Karen Lynn from BT & Co. They performed our audit for Go Topeka last year, and she's going to go through the report. Thank you.
Good evening. Appreciate a few moments of your meeting this evening to go through the audit report. What I'd like to do is just go through the conclusions from the audit, which are the things that are important for you to hear from me as the auditor. First, our responsibility is to perform the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Those standards require that we plan and perform the audit in order to obtain the objective, with the objective of forming the opinion about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. We were able to form that opinion that the financial statements are free of material misstatement, which is the highest form of opinion that you can get on financial statements. Excuse me. What I would like to do is to just point out to you some items that are listed in our opinion. And these items are things that are, occurred in the, as a part of our audit process, but I think they're important for you to hear. And so I just want to read those for you briefly. In performing an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We identify and assess the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether they're due to fraud or error, and we design and perform our audit procedures that are responsive to those risks. We obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in those circumstances. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of significant accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluate the overall presentation of the consolidated financial statements. And we conclude whether there are any conditions or events that in the aggregate that would raise any substantial doubt about whether the organization could continue for the reasonable period, which we generally consider to be 1 year. So those are all things that are done as a part of the audit, and I think it's just important for you to understand that those are all part of the audit process. If there's anything that we identified during the audit in relation to any of those items, accounting policies, estimates, presentation of the financial statements, or going concern, any of those items, we would be bringing those to your attention here this evening. There was nothing in any of those areas that we believe to be inconsistent or inappropriate, so there's nothing really that we need to report to you in those areas. We did identify one significant estimate that is a part of the financial statements. That estimate is the fair value of the investments that are reported in your financials. So we do review the accounting policy, we review the estimation process, and we do come to the conclusion that we believe that that estimate is reasonable. We had no audit adjustments that we identified during the audit process, which is a good indication to you that your financial reporting process and system is able to provide financial statements on a monthly basis or throughout the year that are representative of generally accepted accounting principles, which is the financials that you should be reviewing. So that's a good conclusion for you. We would also bring to your attention if there were any issues that we had with management about accounting matters or auditing matters or any issues that came up during the audit process. We would be sure to bring those to your attention because they could be red flags of more serious issues
that we would want to make sure you as a governing body were aware of. Again, nothing in that area that we need to report to you. We had great cooperation. Everything was available to us. Everything we asked for was provided to us, all in a timely manner. And we do want to thank Josh and his team for all the cooperation that we received during the audit, and we were able to complete the audit in a timely manner. We do have also in the report to the board that I believe you have a copy of, we do list some items there that are important for you to understand just about the importance of maintaining independence between the organization and ourselves as auditors. Independence is important for the relationship between the auditor and the organization to be maintained, for us to be able to keep our audit standards and to keep that relationship at the right level. So some things are listed there just for your information. I encourage you to read through that. The last item that I want to bring to your attention is the management's representation letter. Again, it's in the packet. A lengthy letter, several pages, but it includes a lot of information that we talked about during the audit process. It describes things that are embedded in the financial statements. So important information, again, for you as governing body to understand about the financials, and it can help you as you read through the financials to understand them with that much more detailed information. So we encourage you to read through that letter to help you with your fiduciary responsibility and to understand the financials. When that letter is signed, that is the indication that the financials were ready to be finalized, and that date that they were signed becomes the date of our audit opinion. So with that, I would open for any questions. As you can see, all good conclusions from the audit process.
Might note that this is a clean audit, correct?
Correct, yes.
And there is no notes or anything, recommendations of any issues?
That's correct. Nothing was issued.
Any other questions regarding the 2023 Topeka audit? Okay. Not seeing any. Is there a motion to approve the 2023 Topeka audit?
So moved.
Motion made to approve by Councilmember Duncan. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Banks. Roll call vote.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
Show that it is approved. That brings us to our next item, which is item 3G, which is the added item for this evening.
Item 3G, approval of the 2023 JEDO audit.
Thank you very much. What more exciting topic can follow an audit report than a second audit report? So my name is Emily Sheldon. I am a principal at BT & Co. And this evening I'm going to present the results of JEDO's fiscal year 2023 financial statement audit. Along with the financial statements, we did provide our report to the board of directors, and that letter summarizes the matters that we're required to bring to your attention about the financial statement audit. For my presentation, I'll be going through some key points in that letter, so I'll try and mix it up a little bit. At the start of the letter, we address our responsibility to perform a financial statement audit in accordance with specific auditing standards. Those standards require us to perform procedures, as Karen mentioned, to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. And Karen did an excellent job going over those procedures. I am pleased to report that as a result of our audit, we determined that the fiscal year 2023 financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. And we have issued an unmodified audit opinion, which is the best kind of opinion that JEDO can receive. In the letter, we would bring your attention any significant alternative, adopted, changed, or controversial accounting policies, significant accounting policies in emerging areas, significant unusual transactions, any adjusting journal entries that would have come out of the audit, or any uncorrected misstatements. And no such items were noted for the audit. I would like to inform you that during our audit, JEDO's team was responsive and transparent with our team members. Finally, in relation to the audit, as Karen had referenced for the previous audit presentation, we attached a copy of management's representation letter. That letter puts into writing matters that we are required by our standards to be represented to us by JEDO's management. We provide this letter to you because we believe it will help you as a governing body better understand JEDO's representations about its financial statements and help you fulfill your fiduciary responsibility. The achievement of an excellent audit result such as JEDO's is a testament to both preparedness for the audit as well as maintaining good processes and controls in place throughout the entire year. As such, we'd like to thank Josh McInerney and Jennifer Sauer and the teams at the city and the county for their assistance with the audit. With that, are there any questions?
And again, this is a clean audit,
Correct.
and there's no notes or issues with it.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding the audit? Councilmember Duncan.
I just guess I'm curious why we're getting it. I mean, I haven't even had a chance to read it. I don't know who, I mean, I'll be very honest. I'm very nervous about taking a vote, approving an audit, and I'm not saying it's your fault, that I literally just got.
Okay. Those have been provided to Josh and Jennifer when we had completed the audit, and I had provided them for the presentation this evening upon learning that they had not been provided.
Because I don't even think that's,
I think I got confused when they gave me the Go Topeka audit and the JEDO audit. I thought they were the same thing. So it didn't get caught and added until today.
okay.
Councilmember Duncan, would you like to take a moment to digest it?
Yeah, I mean, it also makes me nervous because we didn't make it public prior to now either. It wasn't posted in our documents prior to the meeting like the other audit was. So nobody's had a chance to look at it from the public. I mean, what happens if we don't approve this until the next meeting? And to be clear, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It sounds clean, it looks clean, so that's not my concern. I just, want to do things right. I guess that's.
Okay. Looking at our county councilor, parliamentarian.
There's no issues, it's still wait till next week.
Okay, I didn't want to screw up budgeting end of the year reports or anything we have to send to anybody, so.
All right.
So then if there's, I guess if I could make a motion that this is, approval of this is deferred until the,
That would be
whenever
deferred
that
to
next
the
meeting,
December.
whatever the date of that meeting is.
That is December the 11th.
Okay, I would make that motion then if that's okay.
Is there a second to Councilmember Duncan's motion? Seconded by Commissioner Mays. Vote on that motion.
Commissioners Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon. Yeah. Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Duncan.
Yes.
So we will defer any final action for approval of the 2023 JEDO audit for December the 11th of 2024. But thank you very much. Our next item.
Item 4A, Go Topeka quarterly update.
Good evening. I will kick us off tonight, and it depends on the timing of these meetings. Sometimes the meeting happens right when our quarterly written report is hot off the press. Other times, like tonight, we are mostly through the next quarter. So we do have some new information that's not included in your written report to share with you tonight. So give us a little extra time if you would. We have some new exciting things to share with you all that the rest of the team will elaborate on. But first of all, on the screen in front of you is the dashboard that we have started to show at the beginning of each meeting. Of course, this is Q2 numbers, so it does not include projects, brick and finish lines. So over double those new job numbers and, add another 60-ish million in capital investment to that number. But this is an aggregate number of all the projects that have been approved year to date. So would stand for any questions on that, but it's something that we've been doing for about a year now. So should be old hat to most of you. The other item that I would like to bring to your attention before I pass it over to the team is we are knee-deep in budget season, as most of you can relate to, and just about ready to share the draft of our budget with the JEDO members. So like we have done in years past, we will be sending out an invitation for those of you who wish to sit down with us one-on-one and walk through that budget before we bring it back to the December meeting for approval. I will be sending out emails probably early next week to everyone on the JEDO board, voting and non-voting, to invite them to have those discussions. So before I pass it off to the team, I would stand for any questions, or we can hold them all till the end. Everyone will be here for the whole night.
I just had one question about the chart. Do you have a running total chart since those programs started that you update?
So yes, but not in the slides.
Well, no, that's fine.
We
I
can
just
bring
didn't know
that
if
to
in
the next
general
meeting
that
if
was
you'd
something
like.
you guys kept. Okay.
Yeah, we'll bring that in December.
Okay.
Any other questions for Molly? Seeing none?
Okay,
Next
thank you.
up.
All right, good evening. Stephanie Moran, Senior Vice President of Innovation. Got a few updates to share with you this evening. I'm going to start off with a plug and play update. I've gotten some information from our plug and play partners I'd like to share this evening. So we have recently run over 100 startups through this program since its inception in fall of 2020. Over 56 non-disclosure agreements have been signed between our corporate partners and our startups that have gone through those programs. 19 pilots have been initiated between those corporate partners and startups, which is actually one of the highest engagements that Plug and Play has seen across any of their industry verticals. So we've got really strong engagement with our corporate partners, which is great for us to see. We've had 2 partnerships come out of those pilots with our startups and corporate partners forming partnerships along the way. We've had 12 countries represented, and many of those have visited here to Topeka. And then we've got a couple of recent announcements we'd like to share. From the last batch, we have a local investor and a regional investor who have made an investment in one of the startups from the last batch, so that's exciting to see. And then from a reverse perspective, we have a local startup, Love Life Sciences, who many of you may know in the area, working on a medical device, going into kind of first round manufacturing. We have reverse connected them through Plug and Play, and they are actually on a short list. They've made the cut, and we hope to be able to announce down the road that Plug and Play is looking at them for a potential investment as well. So great to see that we're seeing traction in both directions with those. The new batch kicks off next week. We will be going to a regional conference with sustainability, food and bev, packaging, as well as our animal health and ag tech in Chicago. We have 25 startups selected, 11 in animal health and 14 in ag tech. So we're looking forward to meeting this new batch of startups next week in Chicago. And just a couple of notes on program changes. We are moving from a 3-month program to a 9-month program. We're pretty excited about this because this gives us a lot more time to work on engagements with these startups, make those connectivity points. The corporate partners, we've had discussions. We feel like it's just a really fast timeline where you don't get to do a lot of the engagements that we'd like to with these startups. And so we're going to try a 9-month run. So we'll kick off in September. We'll still do the graduation here in June, which is exciting. But we'll have a Topeka Focus Week in October where we'll invite those startups here. We've actually got a lot of university engagement scheduled for that event with KU, with Washburn. We're actually going to be hosting a pitch polishing session with an expert that we're bringing in, and that will be in timeline with the Washburn pitch competition that we sponsor. So the finalists will have already been selected for Washburn's pitch competition, and they will all be able to go through the pitch training with our startups along with some of our local startups. So we're excited for that engagement, as well as an opportunity to engage with K-State and get the startups over there. We've had a lot of traction with K-State, which I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. So really excited for those things to come to take place here, coming up with the new batch. So more info to come in December on that. Kansas State. So if you'll recall, we are part of the K-State 105 partnership. We are their urban pilot partner. We were selected for that a couple of years ago. Earlier this spring, we announced that we had received a little over $300,000 in funding from Kansas State. Those things have been used for entrepreneurial asset mapping, so we have contracted with SourceLink out of Kansas City to help us build an entrepreneurial asset map, which we're actually rolling out next week to our asset map partners, and I'll talk about that more here in just a moment. We'll be opening a business concierge office where it's kind of our one-stop shop for entrepreneurs to be able to come and find those services, help make those connections, find their journey, their path at whatever point they are on their entrepreneurial journey. Those are all funded through the K-State funding, so that's exciting to see. We are actually going to be kind of the pilot study for them on this business concierge office, so we're excited to be that partner. If you'll flip back for just a second, sorry. We have also been working on a lot of tech validation support. So through this funding, about $150,000 of that funding has gone to tech validation projects. I'm just going to highlight one. We've had about 9 of those that are either completed or in progress. So there's a lot of fun, exciting projects. This one is Arch Pet Foods. They are actually harvesting an invasive species of fish, Asian carp, out of the Midwest streams and waterways, and are processing it into and hypoallergenic dog food. And so we were able to work with them in K-State in their extrusion facility to develop a new project or a new product that was debuted at Super Zoo in Las Vegas in August. And so we're excited to kind of see this collaboration take place. They are looking for long-term manufacturing, so we're hoping that being able to engage them in this project helps us with some of those initiatives down the road. The other thing that we're doing is student engagement. So a lot of the projects that we are involved with at K-State are involving their grad students, research students, so that's an exciting way to get them involved in our innovation ecosystem here in Topeka as well. All right, moving into the next slide. So the business concierge office. So you've kind of got a snippet here. This is the asset map that we've been working on and putting together, and this will be shared out broadly next week. But wanted to kind of give you guys a quick preview of what we're looking at. We've been working to identify all of the nonprofit resource partners who offer free and or reduced kind of entrepreneurial business support services. And so all those partners have been identified. We've also identified what type of services that they provide. And so those resource partners are all meeting next week to go through this map and the report. That report will also help us identify gaps that we may have in the community and areas where we need to start building out additional resources for these entrepreneurs. The business concierge office that I mentioned will be in downtown Topeka, 715 South Kansas, so it's actually our old visitor center down from our office. That'll be walk-in support for entrepreneurs and small businesses. They'll be able to come in. We will help guide them, make personal connections, help them along that journey so that they're not getting lost on those service needs that they have. We will have the asset map and a database of service providers available. Like I said, it's those personal connections. We also have had initial conversations with Washburn University. We'll be engaging some of their students to intern as part of that business concierge office concept. So looking at their entrepreneurial business students, other business students and law students initially to help us round out services in this facility. Great opportunity for other community partner businesses to also have hours in there as well. So we see our resource partners being able to come in and say, hey, I can offer services with our Small Business Development Center in here during certain timeframes, or if there are legal services, accounting, all of those types of things, they could have office hours in that particular area, which makes it easy for entrepreneurs to connect. Okay. All right, Innovation Center project. So I wanted to kind of give you guys an update. When we met in May, we were talking about what next steps were with BioRealty, moving forward with the project. I can tell you that we had some pretty significant changes take place immediately following that meeting. So as you'll see on the timeline, I believe we met on May 8th. On May 10th, we were contacted by BioRealty and notified that they were not able to move some of the leases forward that they thought they were having success with. And so they informed us at that point in time that by the end of May, if they had not been able to secure those leases, that they would need to look at putting the property up for sale. On May 16th, they actually sent us the right of first offer on the property as part of our stub lease agreement. That offer was much higher than what we would have wanted to entertain, and so we declined that offer. On May 30th, that's the date that we declined. On June 11th, we held another call with them. We had some more conversations. At that point, we did let them know that per the agreement, since they were looking at putting the property up for sale, and based on the conversations that we'd had in the previous JEDO meetings, that we would be looking for Plan B options for that innovation center, because we still believe it's a very important project for the community. They came back with a second offer on June 17th, 18th timeframe, and we declined that offer as well. So, in the last meeting, we had talked a lot about what are the off-ramps. We have spent most of June and July visiting and touring alternate properties in the downtown corridor to see what viable options we have for Innovation Center. We have shortlisted and believe we have a couple of good options, and so we are working with our contractor and with a local developer to identify what that cost would look like and design and build out. So we are currently in the month of September and October going through those numbers. We will be bringing something back on that front, but wanted to provide an update on where we were with that project. All right. One exciting announcement I have to share, since that one's not so exciting. We were just informed this morning, we had sent in an additional funding request through Kansas State University as part of their K-State 105 funding for the fall of '24 and spring of '25. We kind of shot for the moon just to see what would happen on some big initiatives with that project. We received word this morning that we have received $600,000 in grant funding from Kansas State to continue with the business concierge support services, the tech validation with the startups. They are actually also putting in $200,000 for equipment in the Innovation Center for the lab build-outs, so they see the strong need for that in the community, are willing to put in some funding on that as well as funding the interns for our business concierge office. So we are really excited for that partnership. The word that we're getting back from K-State is that this is exactly the type of economic impact that they were looking for as part of this K-State 105 initiative, and they are happy to continue the partnership. And so we are looking forward to what's to come over the next year with that. Okay, that's what I've got.
That's great.
Questions for Stephanie?
All right.
But no, hey, I'm glad that you ended it on a high note.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I did that
Thank
purposely.
you.
Hello. A little more on entrepreneurship and small business. So I'm going to start with some updates for our Small Business Council. They are a numerous group. We have been growing to fill those spots, and I'm happy to say that we're almost at full capacity on this council of small business owners representing small business in our community, advocating on issues, promoting just all around development in our community for them. We have been, we can move on to the first slide. We have been hosting a bi-monthly training session, which is a free series of events for startups, no matter where you're at in the journey, these trainings could be relevant to you. So we've been finding people to present on them. They're very knowledgeable in these areas. Our next upcoming one is on building business value, strategies for growth and transition. So a little bit of business valuation, some exit planning, some just planning out the future of your business and figuring out where you're at and where you're going. So Stephanie Willis will be speaking on that. So we've been seeing a lot of success in those. We've been at full capacity several times, which is about 50 people for the space in our office. If we continue to see growth, then we'll consider looking at different places. But again, we want to keep it free, so we will be looking to utilize our free space until we can no longer do so. Also, a big announcement for the council is that next year, or this year, we have a chair-elect who will be becoming our chair for 25, Amanda Lewis-Thompson with Coldwell Banker. She will be taking Tobias Harvey's spot as he leaves his chair position. So we're excited about that change in leadership. Tobias has been great, but Amanda is also very excited for this position and to dive deeper into the small business community. Now on to some small business incentive updates. These are kind of your usual maps. We are looking at the health map here. This is the 2020 version because that is still the interactive health or the interactive map available online. I know it has slightly changed with the most recent updates, but it's pretty similar. So on here you see the quarters broken down by placement. So this is year to date. So you can see that we are reaching a variety of areas in the city. We still consider the different areas of intensive care and at risk as a higher priority than others, but we take all placement into consideration. Next map is broken down by your districts. And if you are curious about what projects are existing in your zone, I can definitely send that to you upon request, so just let us know. And some of these places, these dots are very close because some businesses will receive multiple incentives, so they're just represented as overlapped pins on this map. Next slide, we have the by industry, so you can see the breakdown here. Tide is the accommodation and food industry along with construction. Some examples of the accommodation or food industry would be like To the Stars Play Cafe, which is a new play cafe for young children and families. So it's a new space opening up near Wanamaker. And then Flavor Wagon, La Casita, different restaurants would fall into this category. For construction, we have like Burgess Construction, LT Excavating, Mark's Overhead Door Service. They are all utilizing for different construction and equipment incentives. So those are our leading categories right now. Next is incentive by investment type. As you can see, equipment is overall the winner here. That is the most common incentive we get applications for, and also at the higher end of the investment levels. We also receive a lot of marketing, but it's not represented as highly of an investment because those thresholds are much smaller. We have a $2,000 max on those, so it's a smaller amount, but a lot of people utilize that as well. Next is new information. So this survey we have created to send out to previous recipients to gauge some data on them after a year or so of their performance. So we've mentioned this before, but it is actively being sent out now and we are starting to receive responses. So these have been sent to anybody whose incentive they received over 15 months ago. We chose 15 months because we often give incentive projects a 3-month performance date, and we wanted to gather data about a year after their performance. So at 15 months, it is triggered to be automatically sent the survey. They receive the survey for every type of incentive they receive, and it explains you've received this amount of money for this incentive to help clarify their data process, but we'll collect those responses and return it in a different format in the future so we can provide some of those. But some feedback that we have already received, example is Performance Tire. They received $6,750 from us, but they invested a total of $425,000. So we're getting to see their total investment after they've completed their projects. They also were able to hire one person and fixed an old building, and this was the 17th in Topeka location. Onyx is another example. She created 4 new jobs with her marketing, construction renovation, and equipment improvements. She was able to offer more new services and more efficient booking systems. So we're able to see some of their goals here and if they were able to reach them. These surveys are sent out, again, 15 months after their approval date. And then once they are initiated, they're set reminders for 6 weeks. And then if we don't hear back from them by like week 3 or 4, we'll start doing personal asks. And at the beginning of their approval process, it is becoming emphasized that this is going to be an expectation of their completed project, is that they continue to fill out this data. Finally, some upcoming events in our world are Women's Forum in October. We have a really exciting agenda on that. We're talking about adaptability and resilience. We have Entrepreneurship Week in November, which is a week-long series. Some of our new events include PR and media training with AE. And the asset map will be introduced at the Entrepreneurship Empowerment Fair, which is a part of the Supplier Diversity Expo with the city. So we're excited for that collaboration. And then, of course, Shop Small in November as well. So we have some exciting things coming out of that. Any questions?
Any questions for Stephanie? All right.
Thank you.
Very much.
Okay, first I want to thank Commissioner Mays for his attention to detail earlier and skepticism, healthy dose of it. And so glad that I can correct the human error that was made earlier when presenting Project Finish Line. You are correct that the economic impact was a little low. It is not 3.6 million, it is actually 1.24 billion. So thank you for catching that, good eye. I appreciate the ability to correct that. Just a little bit of a difference, yeah. So you'll see on the next slide here, just our active project pipeline. These are all new business attraction projects from outside the community that are looking at the Topeka and Shawnee County area. Top industries remain advanced manufacturing, aviation, and then also seeing some of those data centers really coming through. Third quarter has been really great in terms of site visits. In July, we had a manufacturing facility come. Weren't able to learn too much more about them, still very in the confidentiality stage of things, and received a little, some comments about what we could do to better be prepared for our site to be selected. So remain in you know, on their list of that they had that they're visiting. So still in the running for that. And then August, we had a really good aviation industry that came in town, particularly really like our location due to the size and the fact that we are the capital city. Had a really great showing, a lot of great people and conversations happening, and continuing to see that project moving forward. And then we also have another site visit on Thursday. NDAs are in place along with an LOI. They are actively doing soil sampling at this time and other due diligence to test the viability of the site that they're interested, and hoping to learn a lot more on the 19th that we can report back on. Finally, just as represented tonight, we are continuing to have business retention and expansion projects going on, continuing that outreach, growing those relationships, and being a resource for our local businesses in Shawnee County. With that, I will pass it on to Israel.
Questions for Ashley?
More questions? Those numbers are right.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Mitchell Sanchez. I'm Director of Equity and Business Development for Go Topeka. Before my slides, I want to bring up two guests that I have with me here, Curtis Pitts, and they're going to talk about a program that we work with them with.
First of all, we want to say we really appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening, talk about the partnerships and relationships that we built over the summertime. As we know, over the last few years, we've had a tremendous uptick in violence, and we were terrified last year when we had the death of 10 youth who were 18 years or under. And so this year, through our partnership, through our education training programs, we developed an inclusive program that allowed us to train young people for job preparation, job retention. A lot of young people learn how to get a job, but we don't do enough teaching them how to keep a job. And so our young people have come along, and our impact this year, we've been able to work with over 1,000 young people, but our program was designed for 28 young teens. And what we did was we offered training through partnerships with Kansas State University, job training, resume writing, of course, leadership training, urban farming, and we believe that our program must teach our young people to use sweat equity as a means of investing in our community. So many programs that we see in our society right now, they just assume that we can just give them what they want at that particular time rather than teaching them how to fish. So I'm going to let Mr. Asar Bailey talk to you for a moment, then I'll come back up, and I just want to thank the staff for coming out and spending time with our young people in the areas where they live, because if they keep having to leave their community for everything that's positive, they're going to assume their community is a very negative place. So I thank them for reaching out, training, talking with our young people. The young people got a chance to come up to the chamber, the Greater Topeka Partnership every week, and I appreciate seeing people that look like them on all levels of participation. And Mr. Bailey, would you tell them a little bit about what you guys did this summer?
Okay, for a brief introduction, because I don't think I've actually introduced myself to many people in this room. I'm Asar Bailey, and I go to Topeka West right now. And to basically speak on to what Curtis was talking about, this program right now that we have going on is something that I think could really be special, but we just need to get the right people into the program, because one thing that I already know he mentioned is business side of things. I'm going to get into agriculture a little bit later, which just goes to show the self-sustaining bits of our program, which we provide. But for the business aspect of it, we stimulate business by operating flea markets and basically giving kids a real sense of what operating business is like. We actually have trash cans outside that we clean out, and we have different boxes in which we have kids separate these boxes and get things out of them, right? And then they put them on a flea market, and then they figure out their own prices, and they get a split of the profit from this. And this by itself is teaching kids many beneficial skills. And it's not just that we're trying to get kids skills. We're not just trying to get kids just something to do, right? It's about getting kids off the streets, because a lot of kids, especially in the area where we operate this most predominantly, we see a lot of gang activity and we see a lot of dangerous activities pretty prevalent. So we're trying to give them an outlet to basically get out of this violence cycle that we've seen in Topeka. Like he said, like Mr. Curtis said, with the amount of deaths that we've seen with kids under the age of 18 and kids the age of 18, right? We're not trying to see these trends continue, and we've already seen them cut down just by the start of this program. And moving on to the agriculture side of things, I actually heard somebody in this room mention Kansas State, which is pretty interesting, because we also went down to Kansas State to basically give kids a tour and teach them the insides of agriculture and dairy and different things in which they might want to pursue if they pursue a graduate's degree, right? Because we also operate with the farming side of things. We plant different plants inside, like peppers, carrots, stuff like that. We plant that in our program, and we give kids that opportunity to basically plant all this, because we see that if they're able to operate and get a hands-on feel for what they're doing themselves, then they could understand it better. And also, if you have other kids in the program and kids see other kids in the program, they're going to want to tag along to that, because it's like a chain reaction. If you see something that kids your age are doing, you're also going to want to pursue it. And we also have activities going on too that aren't just teaching kids the hardships, teaching kids business. We also dabble a little bit in the fun side of things too, because we operate movies as well with different, so we'll set up different ways for kids to basically view these movies. We might put on movies one night and then music the other, to basically help get kids involved in some way or another with the community. One time I know that we've started doing putt-putt golf too, to help kids, just give kids something to do. And we've also hosted youth clinics with pretty notable people in the basketball side of things. If anybody keeps up with Topeka basketball players like Trey Richardson, Bo Aldridge, they've also helped with the youth clinic, and we've helped reach hundreds of kids with this program too. It's not something that's small, because we could easily fill this program up with kids who have it better, you could say, on the side of things, because we don't like to think that we exclude our own kinds of kids. We like to target a certain ethnic group which has had it pretty bad, right? And it's where most of these murders are taking place. So we like to help them out first before we like to branch and do other things. And to just stop from rambling on, that's just a little bit of the inside of this program, and yeah.
Question for Mr. Pitts or Mr. Bailey?
Not really a question, just a comment. I think this is great. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Banks?
I just can't believe Curtis, great player, speaking at scene, and I don't get invited. My apologies. I apologize.
Mr. Banks has authorized and been able to bully me since 1983, so we not misunderstand that his position in this whole thing. He does not hesitate to bully.
Councilmember Heller?
What is the name of your program, and how do kids and everybody else find out about it?
It's called a Summer Career and Leadership Focused Institute, and we reach out to the schools, and the kids reach out to their peers, and we've been having those teen nights over at Hillcrest and other places. We want to thank the commissioner and the Parks and Recreation because it's been a lifesaver because, some nights we'll have almost 200 kids and then K-State will come in and they'll train all the kids and sign them up to college programs and leadership programs. And that program is really peer-driven. You can see some of the most, notable kids athletically and academically here in the city because they've been with us over there in that site since they were 4 years old. And we're creating a partnership. And one thing we learned, and I teach the kids, and he'll tell you about feeling sorry for yourself, and poverty doesn't have a color. And he'll tell you when people complain about what we don't have, you might want to tell them about that now.
Yeah, I can talk about that briefly. So basically, the main umbrella of this program is that we don't like to think that we don't sit aside and basically say what we don't have and what we could have. We make what we should have. We have it basically. Curtis Pitts actually gave a very good example. He's like, if a tree fell over, right, and there's a storm, and we needed to, if the bridge collapsed, if the bridge collapsed and we needed to get over that bridge, right, or we needed to cross that distance, how would we do it? Would we sit there and feel sorry for ourselves? Would we try and get the government involved? All right, because they also have matters for themselves. So with this program, we teach that we need to get involved and figure out a means for helping ourselves. So with that program, if we have to, we would have to, cut down a tree and get across that empty space to get where we need to go to get groceries, to communicate with people. So it's about self-sustaining skills that we need to provide to our youth because at the end of the day, the youth is going to take over. The youth is what's going to be left after all of us are gone. So, yeah.
Thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you for both of them for attending tonight. We had a really great time with that program this summer, so we wanted to be able to share that with all of you. All right, I'm going to kick off a little bit for Israel here as he moves into his next slide. So as we want to revisit the 10% interlocal agreement. So for those of you members who may be a little new to this conversation, we have a portion of our interlocal agreement that notes that 10% of the $5 million will be targeted to support economic development for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals and/or businesses, including youth employment, workforce development, and rehab of blighted, derelict, and underutilized facilities and infrastructure. So, as we've kind of been unwinding and unpacking that this year, I know that was brought up in previous JEDO meetings back in December and February, that we were going to kind of revisit these programs, take a look at how we looked at spending some of the carry forward dollars that have not been spent over previous years. And so we wanted to give you an update on that. If you'll recall back in the May JEDO meeting, County Councilor Rich Eckert gave us an update on kind of some of the language around the socially disadvantaged and some of the legal challenges that we currently face around those programs. And so based on those legal challenges and guidance from the county councilor and also city councilor, we've decided to really kind of dial in and focus on economically disadvantaged, youth workforce development, and the blighted properties. We still have the equity focus, and we are still providing equitable access to all of our programs. But from looking at our programs that have requirements for those funding incentives, we wanted to make sure that we were following the guidelines. So Israel's going to speak to a little bit about how we went about tearing this program apart, kind of putting it back together, if you will, and really how we're looking at those parameters for economically disadvantaged.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you all. So as you can see up there, one of the main challenges was how do we define what is economic disadvantage, right? So one way of doing this is, of course, to find data sources, not only, as you see up there, the Topeka Neighborhood Health Map, which uses U.S. Census data. Can you go back to the last slide? Sorry. I know the map is on the other slide, but U.S. Census data as well as Shawnee County appraisal office, right? That's how determined that those amounts there, as well as you can see the American Community Survey as well. So those are just some of the parameters that we use, not all of them. If you go to the next slide, please, you'll see that one of the things I did, I reached out to a lot of our community partners and stakeholders who also talk to and serve community members in this demographic, economically disadvantaged individuals. And I found out from them, okay, who do you go to define what that means? And besides, of course, using, like I mentioned, U.S. Census data, besides using different organizations, they also talk to individuals, right? Just like we do. We also have anecdotal evidence. That's not enough, of course. That's what we have both when we meet with clients, people come into our offices, we find out, okay, what do you need right now? What are your challenges? What are you experiencing? What are the realities on the ground that we can really help you with? And on top of that, to match that with the sources that I bring to you on there. And as you can see, I can't read from this far away, but as you can see, United Way uses the neighborhood health map as well. And again, U.S. Census data, a lot of it's really what makes that up. So as Stephanie mentioned, one big concern that was brought up to us was the carry forward amount. And if the number's correct, we have about $1.3 million dedicated to a 10% requirement. If you go to the next slide, please. Now we want to make sure that money gets out into the community. It doesn't help anybody if you're just sitting there, right? So that's kind of what I want to do, bring to you guys up. Now we're going to ask you for a vote tonight. This is just a proposal that we want to bring forward, how we want to distribute these funds moving forward. So as you see, we have three main categories, and that's based on the interlocal language agreement. And as you can see, youth employment program, and as Curtis Pitts is just one example of that, of what I want to keep doing more of those programs. The next one you see is supporting entrepreneurs, and the last one on there is building rehabilitation, which, as you can see, is the biggest category, and the main reason being that, as you know, construction prices, materials, labor costs are going up across the board, and it makes sense for that to be the biggest category. Now, of course, this is a proposal. Maybe next year we realize things are different, and that's one key aspect of this, being flexible enough to allow for realities year to year to influence how we proceed with these funds. And next slide, please. Continuing, like I mentioned, we have the summer youth program with Curtis Pitts, like I mentioned. We want to do more of that. That's just one example. And these here are just not an exhaustive list. It's just examples we want to keep doing. We want to make sure, for example, if you look down at supporting entrepreneurs, there's a section there where we focus on support. What does that mean? Well, if you're starting your own business or you have a business, a lot of times people have issues with accounting. They don't even know what they're making or what they're spending. We see a lot of that. Or maybe they want to figure out, well, how do I incorporate my business? Do I want to do sole proprietorship? Do I want to be a C Corp, et cetera, right? So some legal help will help in that regard. About marketing, for example. So the idea is to have a fund set aside from that bucket for business owners and entrepreneurs, or even aspiring entrepreneurs, to come and they'll be able to receive some help so they can succeed. You know, what does it help if you start a business and you fail within a year? Well, if we can help it, we want to be here for you guys, for the small business owners, and entrepreneurs who are watching this on YouTube later on Facebook. Want to be able to help you guys succeed, right? That's what we're here for. And that's what I have. If you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Sanchez? Commissioner Mays.
So, Israel, when you look at the map for the intensive care areas, and I see the building rehabilitation, are we talking about the funding going towards building renovations in those intensive care areas, or are we talking about a person who might live in that intensive care area? So I guess I'm kind of envisioning two scenarios. One, some wealthy developer from Kansas City wants to, renovate a building in a impoverished neighborhood of Topeka, or perhaps somebody who lives in an impoverished neighborhood in Topeka might want to open a cafe on Wanamaker. Are either of those scenarios something that would play out on here?
Yeah. So to that point, we've actually got multiple scenarios. We didn't bring all of the details of the programming. We're still parsing those out. But yes, we do see both scenarios happening, where we may have someone who really has a passion for investing in our at-risk communities and wants to provide critical services or critical infrastructure to those neighborhoods. We want to be able to support those type of initiatives. But we also know that we have entrepreneurs and individuals who are living in those neighborhoods but may want to open a business in another part of town. And so it's both. There will be an economic threshold. So if your income falls within certain thresholds, you can qualify for these programs. Or if you are developing businesses in these critical care neighborhoods, that could also be a qualifying metric.
Okay. And just,
Yeah.
so if somebody were to accept the financial money assistance for redeveloping a building, I mean, that doesn't disqualify them from other incentives that might come along.
Correct.
Also, is right?
Yeah, so this is kind of an extension of what the Small Business Incentives Program is. It covers certain things, but there are a lot of things that aren't covered within that Small Business Incentive Program that could then be also utilized with these funds that we're talking about as part of the 10%.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Duncan?
So you half answered it, and at some point I'd like to meet with you to dig a little deeper.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
I guess here's my, I think using the health map is a good start. I guess I'm a little confused if it's the only and primary qualifier.
No, so I think the first slide that Israel had put up had some of the economic thresholds. So we will tailor the programming into, there's an income threshold. So if it's an individual who falls below certain income thresholds, then they will qualify for those programs and can utilize those programs and the incentives. So it's not only the health map, there will be a rubric of criteria. And so as we evaluate those incoming applications and send them to committee, it's how many of these boxes do those things check? And that could then qualify them for a larger percentage or a smaller percentage of those incentives and investments.
Yeah, because I've always viewed that piece of the agreement and that 10% to specifically honestly be used for those individuals who are truly economically disadvantaged. And so, for instance, that's why I have mixed feelings about the scenario of an outside developer who already has all these resources.
Right.
Although I can see if they're actually helping us in those neighborhoods.
And that's where each
I get
project,
that.
yeah, and I
Right.
think that's where each project has to be evaluated on an individual basis.
Right, because the scenario where somebody who lives in one of those who wants to build it elsewhere, I want to help an entrepreneur, but I don't want to help them move out of my areas that are true. They build it in an area that didn't really need another coffee shop necessarily.
Right.
They use those dollars and then they move over there. I haven't really helped. I've helped that individual and that's great and I want to develop business, but I don't know that some of those are the true intent of that 10%, because that's what the other 90% is for, right? And so that's why I'd like to dig in a little more, is to
Absolutely.
make sure that the true intent of that 10% is going to economically disadvantaged businesses who are desperate because they can't get access to capital, they can't get other resources because they don't qualify for other programs. They're 9 employees if they're lucky, but we throw them into 50 employees or more competitive grants if not. So those are all, I will ask many more of those questions, but those are my initial sort
And this is why we wanted to roll this out today, just to kind of get the conversation going. And as we have the budget meetings and or we're open to other individualized meetings to have discussions around these programs.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
We have the same goals as you, for sure. Yeah.
Councilwoman Heller?
My question is this vision that you have at this point strictly business or entrepreneur-based versus space-based? Redevelopment of spaces in or adjacent to these neighborhoods that perhaps have been dormant for a long time?
So I think it can be a little bit of both. So you see the entrepreneur bucket where it is supporting those types of entrepreneurship programs, the support services to make sure that those entrepreneurs in those critical care areas and in low-income individuals really are successful. We want to make sure they have all the tools for success and have the best chance to succeed. I think there's also a portion of that is there are buildings and properties that I know everyone would like to see developed and put to good use in these neighborhoods. So I think it's a twofold type of program.
Is that something you had discussed up until now, or just because I brought it up?
No.
No, we discussed a lot of these things already.
Into more detail,
Yeah.
as we go into more details with it, you'll see that we've built out some of the criteria and the thresholds. There'll be mins and maxes, similar to what we do with the small business incentives. So we've put some of those details together. Again, we kind of wanted to bring it as a first introduction today, and then have those conversations as we go into final budget preparations and meetings, as well as, like I said, we're happy to meet one-on-one. We knew there'd be a lot of questions around this, so we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yep. All right.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, JEDO members. My name is Rhett Flood. I'm the Executive Director of Forge Young Talent, and our role in economic development is to attract and retain young talent to Topeka and Shawnee County. And how we do that is through events and programming. One of our programs is the Top City Intern Program. And as a reminder, that program is really a tool to be utilized by Topeka and Shawnee County employers to better engage their interns while they're in town for the summer. An easy way I sell it is while those companies are selling their company and their culture and the work that we do, the Top City Intern Program is selling Topeka and our community and our culture. So I'd like to announce tonight that the program this summer was very much a success, and we had a total of 35 local employers participate in that program this summer. We had a total of 375 interns and engaged them in 5 different events in 7 weeks. So it is a busy, busy couple months. We've made some changes over the last couple years, which has really improved that program. And right now we are currently following up with both employers and interns to get feedback on how many people accepted jobs, how many accepted second-year internships. If they didn't accept those, why not? And maybe we can fill some of those gaps in the future. So when we get that data, we will be sharing that with you, and we hope to continue to grow those numbers over the years. Next slide, please. These are just an example of the ways that we are kind of having some experiential engagements in our community. So you can see we have our kickoff event at the Topeka Zoo, where we had a couple hundred interns there getting a behind-the-scenes tour, engaging with other interns, making those connections. We know that the more connections you have in a community, the more likely you are to stay. You can also see that we have a mix of personal and professional development events there. So we got all the interns in front of some local community leaders and kind of made the business case and the community case for Topeka. Also, we have some fun events, getting out on Lake Shawnee and showing some of our awesome assets for young professionals. That's what I have today. I just wanted to share kind of that update and kind of how Forge is trying to retain those interns while we have them in town.
Any questions for Rhett? All right. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thanks.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. You all should have in front of you a postcard, which I will share a little bit more about that here in a minute. Back in the May meeting, we discussed the Love Kansas campaign, which Topeka is one of the pilot communities for Love Kansas. As a reminder, Love Kansas is a talent attraction program for boomerangs that Kansas Tourism and the Department of Commerce is putting out together. So we kind of made this a little bit of our own. Our marketing manager for Go Topeka, Aaron Young, created these postcards. On the back is a QR code. So what we're asking community members to do is think of someone that you know who used to live in Topeka, has moved away, but you want them to come back. You can share a quick note about all the great things that are happening in Topeka, and then just mail this off to them. With the QR code, when they receive it, they can sign up to win a free weekend stay downtown in Topeka. The drawing for that will be in March, so we're giving some time to get a lot of people signed up for this. But we would love for these people just to come back and see all the great things that are happening here and potentially make this their home again. So far, we have had a little bit over 80 of these postcards go out. We just did a soft launch on August 8th at Eats and Beats at Evergy Plaza. And we have these available in our visitor center for free. So our visitor center people are aware of what these are for and are just sharing it as people come in and visit. And so a lot of these have gone out already. That is the first part of how we're launching this campaign. We are working on a social media campaign as well, which will require community involvement. We are going to create videos that people can share and potentially ask community members to create their own videos and share with people on their networks, their social media networks. So more to come on that, but we're really excited about that. So you all received a copy of the postcard. Send one out if you know of somebody that should move back. And if you need more, you can just send me an email and I'll get it over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? All right.
Okay, and then just a quick announcement, our third annual National Manufacturing Day event is coming up on October 4th. That'll be at the Ag Hall. Our last year's event, we had 125 students from throughout Shawnee County attend that event with close to 20 employers. And we hope to have more students attend this year and potentially more employers as well. And this is just a great opportunity for kids to network with employers. We give them a list of questions to ask so they're not just walking around picking up the candy from Mars and just getting free goods. So we want them to really engage with the companies that are there. And we've received a lot of great feedback from employers on this event in the past. So feel free to stop by and check it out if you're available that day.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that concludes our report. So if there's any questions, everyone is here and feel free
Any
to ask.
questions for anybody or Tina? Okay. Our next item.
Item 5, public comment.
We do have one speaker signed up for public comment. That's Henry McClure.
Good evening, JEDO. Thank you for your time. You know, sometimes it's hard to not look like that grumpy old man, like, hey, get off my lawn. When you're looking at all these young, bright, shiny personalities gleaming and putting their heart into their projects. But I was the guy that went out and got the sales tax money in the beginning, the quarter-cent sales tax. I told the voters, please vote for this because we're going to grow the tax base, we're going to broaden the tax base, and we're going to grow the population. That's what I told people when I got them to vote for it. And I went door to door. I went to Rotary, the Kiwanis, whoever would listen. And there were a lot of people that went out. And so it's hard to say, well, wait a minute. These guys are working hard. They're putting their heart into this thing. So it's all about perspective. And so maybe over the years I've had some resentments because I've had to live by the commission, deal by deal, commission by commission, success by making deals. I've lived all over the country, 11 different towns, and I'm happy to be home here. And thanks to the county councilor's effort and through Cora, I got this information. I'm just spend a minute here. Bread basket, farmer's market, $200. Shawnee Heights Foundation events for talent initiatives, $300. New Mount Zion Baptist Church annual community drive, $300. Noto Art District and Entertainment, $500. Kansas Association of School Boards, $500. THA grant for Topeka Housing Authority, incubator, $700. Washburn University Institute Leadership Challenge event, $1,500. YWCA Northeast Emerging Leaders, $2,000. Noto Arts and Entertainment District, $1,300. North Topeka On the Move Association, $1,334. Friends of Alvin Alley Camp for Kids, $1,500. Back down to the largest one is Choose Topeka, $174,000. Washburn Tech Scholarship, $100,000. Forge, $50,000. And so there are 58 requests like that. Now, Every time I've asked for help from this organization, well, that doesn't create jobs. That does not create jobs, Henry. Very disingenuous. And Kevin, or Chairman Cook, I asked you for, and I thought I did through Cora, I wanted to have the board's response to my Pizza Hut deal. Hey, good night, Matt. See you, buddy. Sold him his house. So we have 740 local real estate agents that could do this job. But some of them are very key people. And like, for example, on Israel's deal he just was talking to you all about, a leasehold interest for a rich guy, but maybe the tenant qualifies for his disadvantage. I'm living on Social Security. As a real estate developer, I think I'm going to need to start talking to Israel about some deals. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. All right. Our next item.
Item 6, a reminder of the December 11th JEDO board meeting.
Okay. Then
And item 7,
is adjournment.
adjournment.
Is there any other matters to bring before the board? Seeing none, we are adjourned.